Hello and welcome to the Cryptocurrency News channel. This is the TAFA and chart analysis for January 5th, 2022. And what we're looking at here is the 1 month graph. So this is basically from beginning of December 2021 to beginning of January 2022, which is where we are now. And as you can see, we are obviously on a downtrend. It's hard to draw too many lines here. I guess if you draw let's say from here to here, it's not really that downtrend. But if you draw from here, if you draw from here to here, then it's obviously a downtrend. But the low is definitely a downtrend, because you're going from here, you're going from like here to here, and then ultimately from like here to all the way down here. Now there was in late December on the 21st, there was like a mega downtrend. There was actually like a mega downtrend in late December, but that was like a 5-minute spike, so that doesn't really count. If you look at the lines, we're still in a descending corridor, especially if you take like the most recent drop. I do think we'll bounce back, but if you take the most recent drop, we're definitely still in a downtrend on the 1 month. So maybe like we'll have to wait until February before things kick up again, especially with the Fed interest rate hikes. If you look at the 3 month, yes, we are still down. Basically, like the lines I have here are the last 1 month. But if you actually look at the last 3 months, I mean, you're basically going from the top, from the 3 month cycle. You're going from here, that top, to this top. And then as for the bottom, you can see this is what I was talking about. The 4th of December, it actually went down to like 41,000 for a little while. So you can't draw from that, because that was like a 1 minute spike, and this is lasting much, much longer. But you can see like this is basically where it, this right here is basically where it kind of like leveled out. And then you have down here. So obviously the top is descending more than the bottom. And if you draw these things out into the future, it should level out like at least around 40,000 or 41,000, or maybe slightly less, maybe like at the end of this month. So they should meet around maybe like 40K at the end of this month. And maybe that's where our true bottom is, around 40,000 towards the end of January, looking on the 3 month graph. Now, if you look at the 6 month graph, we're still positive on the 6 month graph, because I mean, you can look at it many ways. You can see like September to November, we're still positive. But if you look at July, even if you take like July to here, like we're like slightly positive. And especially if you take July to November, we're pretty positive. And then of course, like the low here a couple 6 months ago is still much, much lower than the low here. So 6 month wise, we're still like on an upward trend. So that's kind of like where we are right now. 3 month wise, because 1 month wise and 3 month wise, because of today's major dip, we're still in a downward trend. 6 month wise, we are still in an upward trend. So in about in a couple of months, we should still be higher than where we are now, because I think the variation right now is starting to basically the volatility in this kind of corridor is starting to kind of fizzle out. And because of that, I do think like we're going to even out and then probably go up, because the 6 month trend is still positive. Remember, we did actually dip to about 41,000 here at early December, and then we were at 42,000 today. But since we did dip below 45,000 today, I still think we're in a slight downward trend for 1 month and 3 month. But it should even out before 40,000, and probably around before the end of this month. So next month, I'm looking pretty positive for February, unless the Fed does something stupid again. So, but that's always, there. If you look at the technicals, obviously today is going to make everything negative. It's all sell right now. I would say the oscillators on the daily are pretty much neutral. The commodity channel index is way oversold right now. So that's actually a buy. The stochastic is also oversold, and the RSI is bordering on oversold. So it's more buy than sell, but I'd still say it's fairly neutral. The average directional index is a point or two higher than yesterday, so a downward trend might be forming, but it's still not very, very strong. All the EMAs and SMAs are obviously negative, and we need to cross 50,000 again for them to really become positive. But seeing how fast we can see the market bounce, like I wouldn't really sell right now. And the reason is like today might just be a knee-jerk reaction. Like we didn't drop lower once the Asian markets opened, which is a good sign. But today might just be a knee-jerk reaction to the Fed saying they're going to maybe up the interest rates. But even if the Fed ups the interest rates like on their plan, they're really only going to raise it by 1 or 2% in the next 2 years. And on a realistic level, it really shouldn't matter all that much right now on a realistic level. The Fed interest rate. So if you actually look at the technicals, I do believe tomorrow is probably going to be a bounce back. I think it's probably like 75% chance it's a bounce back day. There's always like a 25% chance it keeps dipping. But I do think tomorrow is going to be a slight bounce back, and after that, I'm not really sure. On the 1 week, yes, the commodity channel index, we are oversold on the 1 week. The stochastic is also below 20, which is generally oversold. The average directional index is still very weak at 19.62. So this, to me, is more of a buy right now than sell on the weekly. And that's mainly because tomorrow might be a small bounce back. Otherwise, I would say it's completely neutral. If you want to play that tomorrow, being a small bounce back, you might want to buy in. But otherwise, I would actually just stay neutral and just hold on to what I have without buying any more. In terms of all the EMAs and SMAs on the weekly, we're basically sell all the way down to the 100, which is like 100 is like 2 years. So like we're getting to the point where we're like going to be below where we were like 1 year ago. So right now, like for the rest of this month, as I showed you on the chart, we might actually be heading towards a downtrend. So maybe we'll dump to around 40,000 essentially towards the end of January. I'd still think like there's a good chance that 42 could be the bottom, but we could dump towards 40,000 towards the end of January. So right now, like in the immediate future, it looks kind of bearish. On the 1 month, the oscillators are pretty much neutral. The moving averages on the 10 month, they're now negative, so they're on a sell on the 10 month. But if you actually look at the graph that I have here, if you look at the 6 month, like top to top, bottom to bottom, we're still on an upward trend. So anything greater than 2 or 3 months into the future, I think TA wise, I still think they're a buy right now. Although the 10-month EMA and SMA is saying sell, I do think like as we get further into this year, assuming the Fed doesn't suddenly hike up interest rates, I think we'll do actually just fine. And as for the fundamental analysis, what I want to mention is yes, the Fed interest rate thing did actually hurt because whenever they raise interest rates, it makes traditional investments like bonds more competitive. But the fact is they're not really going to raise it above 2 or 2.5% in the next 2 or 3 years because they don't want to tank the stock market too much. So, and also, inflation in the long term is actually good for crypto. Inflation rises, Bitcoin will rise as well. So overall, they're pretty strong, but like in the next few days, it's very, very hard to say. Also, the energy crisis is plaguing crypto right now because mines in Kosovo, as well as a lot of Europe, might be shutting down. So we might have some kind of a small retreat in hash rate. It won't be as bad as China when they banned it, but we might get like, 10, 20% decrease in hash rate, which would actually decrease the corresponding price as well. So that's what's going on with that. That's kind of like the charts and the lines I've drawn. Negative on 1 and 3 month, but really still positive on the 6 month. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe and hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.